What was exciting about Desperado is I went to go make it, and there were no Latin actors working in Hollywood because no one was creating roles for them. So I thought, wow, I got to go create my own stars. We'll bring Antonio from Europe because they kind of know his name from the Almodovar movies. And I saw him in Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down when I was in the hospital writing Mariachi. We're watching TV while I was a patient. And there's a scene where he like headbutts Victoria Abril. He just like, gives her a headbutt. He goes like that. And I was like, whoa, I bet that guy would want to be in an action movie. He's got something inside.
Yeah.
So I called him when we were doing Desperado and I said, would you ever consider doing an action? Oh man, I'd love to do action. And so I said, I got a movie for you. I got a movie for you. It's the sequel to Mariachi. And so Salma, I found in Mexico television, she couldn't get work in the US because of there was
Yeah,
no
how did
roles
you
in her
find her? I
accent.
mean, this is one
It
of the
was a
greatest
crazy story,
actors in the world.
one of the best stories. I was really determined to hire a real Latin, especially Hispanic, and then she's Mexican actress to be the Mexican character. That's like as authentic as you can get. And there was no one who was getting any jobs because no one was creating any. So there was no one that had any movies under their name because there was no one. It was a whole systemic problem, right? This was 94, 93. So I was watching a Paul Rodriguez show on Univision because I was trying to practice my Spanish because I was having to do all these Spanish interviews because Mariachi was in Spanish. That was the other part I didn't tell you. I didn't speak Spanish when I made that movie. We didn't grow up with it. So I left that part out of the Mariachi story because I thought people already didn't believe I made the movie by myself. They knew I made it in a language I didn't speak. I should have said it because it'd be even more inspiring. Like
That
now
is
you have
inspiring.
no excuse.
Yeah.
I would wrote the English subtitles
Holy
basically.
shit.
I wrote the titles,
Yeah.
what became the subtitles, and then we take it to the actors, and the actor would translate it for me. And I was like,
That is so
I'd be
inspiring.
like, I
Holy
would try to
shit.
speak Spanish and say, "Vamos a recordar," like let's record, and they'd be looking at me like, "What the fuck? That means let's remember." The recordar doesn't mean record. That means grabar. Now I know. Back then I didn't know. So I'm watching Univision, and then there's Salma as a guest, and she's a big soap star down there in Mexico. And she comes out, she's beautiful, she's funny, everyone's laughing. She's Salma, everyone that we know now. And she starts talking about, what I gather from what she's saying, that she's having trouble finding any work in the US because of her accent. And then Paul Rodriguez says, well, say something in English. And then she says, and she sounds just like she does now. And he goes, that's great. She goes, I know. And I went, I think this is the girl. So I called her in my office and I videotaped our first meeting together. So I have that somewhere
Oh,
of her
that's
just
awesome.
telling me about,
That's
and
so
it's
awesome.
Salma. It's Salma. It's
Yeah.
just her with her energy, with her passion, and funny. She became instant friends with my wife. Before they walked over, your wife and I are best friends. She already was like part of the family. She's godmother to my kids. Um, and I thought, I'm going to help you. You're going to help me. I need to have a Mexican actress in this, and you're going to be phenomenal. The studio didn't see it. They were like, what? She hasn't done anything. Why don't you just hire somebody else who, already has a name? So well, if we just give her one movie, then she'll be someone who's in a movie, and then you can keep casting. So I made a whole other movie with her in English called Road Racers. It was my second film for Showtime. Really cool little rebel without a cause type movie. And I gave her a role in that, so we'd have an example of her doing English. And they still were like, we need a screen test. We need to have a screen test with a bunch of other actresses. So I said, sure, let's do that. So I went over to her house the night before, before the screen test, and we worked on the scene, which is the best scene where she's operating on his arm and they've got all this chemistry. And I was just directing her through it, like completely down to when you pick up the water and you hand him the water, don't scream, oh, hot water. Just be like, hot water. And while he's spitting it out, and it's going to be a big dramatic action with like a very light delivery. And so we got it down to a science. The next day we show up. Antonio does a scene with all the girls who come in. He does it with her. Clearly, they've got amazing chemistry. She just nails it. He's great. He loves her too. Studio's like, okay, you can hire her. Reluctantly, like that, right? But once they saw the footage come as we were shooting and they saw it on the big screen when they're watching the dailies, then they were like, oh my God. And then they saw it. Then they saw what I saw when I met her. But sometimes like you say, what do you do when people are like, hey, why come you're using these? Just know that not everyone's going to see it. You may have the only vision. Just keep going. There's an instinct that tells you to keep going that way. You'll get proved right or wrong, or maybe you're slipping on the first two rocks or whatever, but follow your instinct because Everyone's going to have an opinion, and it's not necessarily the right one. And when you're an independent filmmaker, you can make those decisions that change people's career, that changes the world. And that's why you want to remain independent. That's why what's happening now in the industry is great, because I have to make movies like the way I started, which is what I've always liked to do, which is just doing it where we create our own destiny. We go, hey, we're going to make a movie. We're going to make it for this budget so we can make it. And the story is going to be so character driven and cool. We're going to be able to get big actors to be in it because they're going to want to be in it.